18-Day Campaign Against Violence Against Women and Children is an annual international campaign that aims to raise awareness about the various forms of violence faced by women and children and to advocate for their rights and protection. This campaign begins on November 25th, which is the International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and ends on December 12th, which is the International Day of the Rights of the Child. Violence against women encompasses a wide range of abusive behaviors that are primarily targeted at women because of their gender. Over the next episodes, we will delve deeply into many issues related to violence and their impact, the many inspiring stories and practical steps towards a safer society. Together, let's raise our voices for change. This is 𝐕𝐢𝐴𝐚 and welcome to our 18-Day campaign.
Important disclaimer. This podcast may contain content, language, and discussions that could be unsuitable for certain audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the podcast platform. Parental guidance is recommended. Additionally, please be aware that this episode includes discussions about violence against women. A trigger warning is issued, and we encourage sensitive listeners to exercise caution. Thank you for understanding.
All right, now we are down to the monitoring and fighting trafficking in persons. So these are just a simple short slides, and we will play the video later on as closing of our Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act. So the Philippines is actually at Tier 1 in the U.S. State Department. The U.S. State Department is the one that rates or ranks different countries according to their compliance with elimination of trafficking in persons. So pinakamataas na itong Tier 1, meaning we fully meet the minimum standards for elimination of trafficking. But we know much work needs to be done kasi marami pa rin mga syndicated crimes, yung mga organized crimes that perpetuate, no? And even individuals and government officials who are part of human trafficking. Kaya marami pa rin dapat magawa yung Philippines, like protection, prevention, education, and maybe later on, makikita natin kung saan makakapasok yung ating mga kooperatiba. So what are the legal protection for victims? Nabanggit na natin before na meron silang witness protection, may free legal services, and yung mga other services that are free like psychological and other DSWD services na binibigay ng gobyerno. At halimbawa, kung yung traffic persons ay yung mga ating commercial sex workers or ating mga prostitutes, hindi sila dapat kasali nakakasuhan. Sila po ay ma-exempt, sila ay recognized as victims. So they should not be penalized for the unlawful acts committed as an incident or related to being trafficked. Sila na nga yung nabiktima ay kakasuhan pa. So may exception din to the rule dito po sa ating Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act. So as we've said, dapat yung government yung talagang unang protector natin, no? So the government has to increase victim protection efforts. Ang kulang lang natin ngayon, yung mga statistics tsaka yung numbers. So wala pa tayong reliable mechanism to consolidate the statistics of the total numbers of victims identified and assisted. So katulad nung sa ating Safe Spaces Act, kulang pa rin yung ating mga data. So hopefully, makokolate ito ng local government, ng national government, and other private agencies concerned. So alam natin, kapag nagpo-prosecute, dito po yan siya under sa Department of Justice. Sa mga cities, meron po tayong City Prosecutor's Office, meron din tayong Regional State Prosecutor's Office. Then yung pinaka-head po nila, yun yung Office of the Secretary of the Department of Justice. Sa prevention naman, meron tayong Interagency Council Against Trafficking. So kasama-sama na dito yung DOJ, DSWD, DFA, Department of Labor and Employment, and other related agencies like the NBI, the Philippine National Police. So ito ay isang task force, no, against human trafficking. Hopefully that they will really spend their budget well and do their job well para kung hindi man ma-eradicate, ma-minimize lang ho natin itong ating human trafficking. So ang mga priority recommendations ng IACAT, kailangan po daw natin ng feedback from diverse community of survivors on the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of anti-trafficking policies and programs, and ensure that victims' compensation. Sad to say, napakaliit lang ho talaga ng binigay ng batas na amount, no, para sa ating mga victims. Itong ating court-ordered restitution and compensation, hindi talaga sapat. So maybe this is the time that our CDF, yung ating Community Development Fund ng ating kooperatiba, ay pwede nating magamit at pangtulong dito sa mga victims na to, at yung pag-implement ng mga policies and programs na makakaroon tayo ng data na makatulong against eradication or minimizing of anti-trafficking against persons. So nabanggit na yung kanina that victims should receive court-ordered restitution and compensation, yung database, no? Identify and assist labor trafficking victims. Kasi we know that there are 3 aspects, no, sa ating trafficking in persons, yung sexual exploitation, yung forced labor, pati yung domestic servitude, no? So dito yung sa labor trafficking victims, nakasaad na include daw yung training for the law enforcement, for the social service providers, and labor inspectors on indicators of trafficking. So Philippine National Police, DSWD, and DOLE or Department of Labor. And last but not least, we must increase resources for law implementation, enforcement units. No? Ito ay isa sa mga ehemplo ng mga NGOs na nagpa-fight ng human trafficking. Kanina nakita natin yung video ng IOMX.org, yung Department of Homeland Security. So meron din dito yung Made in Hope Philippines, yung Renew Foundation, Together in Hope, and ovc.gov/trafficking. So that ends our monitoring and fighting trafficking in persons. Now we will show the video kung ano pa itong pwede nating magawa, no, sa ating human trafficking. Actually, this is also an American video, but this is anti-slavery pa, kasi sinasabi nila ngayon yung trafficking in persons is modern day slavery. So let's watch this video.
Slavery is not a thing of the past. In fact, around the world, due to sex and labor trafficking, it's believed that more people are held in slavery today than ever before in history. This is Elena. She's 14 years old, and she's been exploited for sex. How did she get here? She was preyed upon by callous, opportunistic men who are masterful at playing off of Elena's fears and desires, and she lacked the knowledge and support she needed to protect herself. Human trafficking is an insidious and costly crime that is too often seen as an international problem. In fact, it happens every day right here in our own community, destroying lives and costing local governments millions as they attempt to find answers. Yet there has been very little effort to educate, train, and empower local institutions and citizens to collaborate with experts to eradicate this problem. Let's see what could happen to Elena if she has a different kind of support. Imagine a venue through which Elena can learn about and share knowledge about the manipulative and coercive techniques of traffickers, feel confident in protecting herself and others, and be a part of a real-world solution, contributing to the health of her community and peers, so that, through knowledge, Elena and others can become unfit to be enslaved. With its historical roots connected to former slaves Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington, the Frederick Douglass Family Initiatives seeks to stop the plague of human trafficking permanently, one student, one family, one school district at a time. Like other successful prevention programs, like anti-smoking and drunk driver campaigns, FDFI's Trafficking-Free Community is a pilot project that aims to reduce the vulnerability of children to sex and labor exploitation through a combination of classroom curricula, educator training, and the coordination of community resources. This innovative and unique program provides short-term and long-term solutions through early intervention and prevention, empowers administrators and educators to responsibly identify and respond to victims, strengthens community relationships between educators and anti-trafficking stakeholders, and gathers and presents real data of the effectiveness of the program. Now that Elena knows, rather than becoming a victim, she becomes a powerful agent of change through collaborative service projects in her own community. We are already reaching thousands of students in hundreds of schools. With your help, we can reach many more. By financially supporting FDFI, you can support an organization with a proven track record and solid experience, delivering carefully designed training and curriculum in a responsible, sensitive way, and be a part of creating positive, lasting change in our communities by ending human trafficking. Frederick Douglass said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Just like all of our young girls and boys, Elena's future can take many different paths. Let's work together to help our young people fulfill their brightest future.
Alright, no? Si Frederick Douglass ay among yung mga abolitionist, no? Yung naglalaban against slavery sa United States, and they're continuing this by believing in the maxim that prevention is better than cure. Sabi nila na much better to train, no, yung younger generation than to correct the older ones, kasi mahirap na talaga ma-change yung mga norms and yung mga stereotypes, no, yung ating mga challenges sa gender and development. But if we educate, we train and empower, then maybe we could duplicate here also, no, sa schools or sa ating communities, and the co-ops with their community development fund and their other social funds can group together, baka yung iba't ibang mga gender development committees or yung iba't ibang maybe in coordination with the Department of Education, the SWD, or the police, pwedeng mag-adapt sila ng community. And maybe also dito sa ating NATCO network, tayo ay mangunguna sa mga initiative ito, kasi mas I think I also would subscribe to that belief na mas mabuti na natin sila maging educated, na hindi sila maging enslaved, hindi sila maloloko, hindi sila madadala sa mga false promises, just like yung mga fake news natin and other mga misinformation and disinformation. I think it's time that we take a stand, and it's time that co-ops be the ones to lead, no? Lalo na ating Gender and Development Committee, because it cuts across all the cooperatives, whether it's primary, secondary, or the federation. So if you have any other questions or comments or suggestions, you could state in our dito sa ating during the program, or you could go to the Facebook pages of NATCO and my Facebook page, Davao Lawyer. And if you're watching the replay, kumusta kayo dyan? And you could also watch the replays paulit-ulit kung gusto nyo mapanood pa itong ating ibang mga 18-day campaign to end violence against women.
So, Attorney Blue, thank you for that wonderful full presentation about human trafficking. May we just know, like, what are the main factors that contributes to the vulnerability of women and children not to be, to be vulnerable sa human trafficking?
Yes, if napanood nyo kanina or earlier, the previous days, no, we have the causes of human trafficking, yung poverty, yung discrimination, gender inequality, yung unemployment, war and conflict, no. But I think dito talaga sa atin, no, aside from poverty, lack of education, kasi hopefully hindi lang sa ating 18-day campaign to end violence na matatapos itong ating education campaign, but maybe all throughout the year, and maybe all the co-ops, whether with our federation or not, can also spread this education campaign, kasi yun ang pinakauna talaga sigurong prevention, no, at weapon natin against human trafficking, na maiintindihan natin na oops, hindi na pala ito tama, oops, mali na pala ito, ano na pala ito, krimen na pala ito, napakabigat ng mga fines and penalties, napakahaba ng mga imprisonment. Kaya kahit yung mga preparatory acts na hindi natuloy ay also punishable. So hopefully, especially the government, no, mag-ano talaga, maging proactive, hindi lang siya reactive. Importante talaga yung, for me, the education.
So apart from education, you mentioned that, what other initiatives can cooperatives take to or do to promote empowerment in our women and children, and fight off the vulnerability to human trafficking?
Of course, we know that we have the SDD, that's sex disaggregated data. In fact, tayo dito sa NATCO and through our GAD committee ay ini-encourage natin na to check on sino yung mga ating mga primaries na active, no? Sino yung mga primaries natin na may mga data. And siguro we could share this data across the different primaries, and maybe I share this with the government para magkatulong-tulong tayo, makita din natin ito palang mga taong ito ay habitual offenders na. Itong mga taong pala ito ay suspected or meron na mga preparatory acts against human trafficking. So the data is very important, not only for the anti-trafficking. Alam natin, katulad ng sa ating Safe Spaces Act, kapag paulit-ulit na natin ginagawa itong mga crimes or offenses na ito, ay lumalala yung ating penalty, humahaba yung ating imprisonment. So maganda talaga, parang meron siguro tayong central database na easily accessible to everyone. Yeah.
Attorney Blue, kunwari, no, syempre nasa community natin yung victim ng human trafficking. What support service should cooperatives provide these victims or yung survivors ng human trafficking?
Siguro ang aking unang mababanggit is yung ating gender sensitivity, no? And of course, our confidentiality and impartiality. Huwag natin husgahan na itong ating mga commercial sex workers, yung ating mga prostitutes, ay yun talaga yung gusto nila. Baka napipilitan lang din silang pumasok sa ganitong profesyon or itong money-making activity na ito dahil pinipilit sila or dahil sa poverty, no? And kapag tumutulong tayo, meron naman tayong mga ibang educational videos, so we have to hide the identities also, and also ensure na hindi resbakan itong ating mga biktima. Baka later on, alam natin, mabibigat na mga sindikato or mga high government officials ito, para maproteksyonan din yung ating mga tinutulungan. And at least, no, kung meron naman dyan mga financial na livelihood projects na pwede din nating maibigay, na nandyan din naman sa ating kooperatiba, we will also extend that kind of support to them. Yeah.
Ito naman po, Attorney Blue, what measures naman can cooperatives take to ensure that they practice fair labor practices, or they do fair labor practices, and prevent any exploitation within their organization?
We have for every different region yung ating regional tripartite wages and productivity board. So halimbawa dyan sa capital, sa National Capital Region, mas mataas yung daily wage compared dito sa Mindanao or sa Visayas. So we'll start with the basics. No? We have to follow the minimum wage law, yung ating mga overtime pay, yung ating holiday pay, yung ating rest day pay, yung ating night shift differentials, no? And of course, yung ating mga 13-month pay and other bonuses na may vested right to yung ating mga empleyado. So aside from that basic thing, maybe also look at the yung environment na hindi siya hostile, no? Hindi siya maybe anti-men or anti-women, anti-children. And last but not the least, siguro yung baka maaari nating bigyan ng yung other performance-based or non-performance-based na mga incentives and bonuses, lalo na kapag tayo nagtutulong sa ating community. So hindi lang yung dahil na mataas yung ating profit for our savings and loan business, but also kapag meron tayong nagawa siguro na cooperative social responsibility, nakatulong tayo sa ating community, meron din kahit na konting recognition lang naman. Kasi sometimes yung gusto lang naman ng ating mga kababayan at mga kaibigan, yung recognition, hindi na kailangan nila ng premyo. No? So yun din siguro, some sort of incentives or promotions in connection with itong ating violence against women and gender sensitivity.
I have a few more questions, Attorney Blue. You mentioned about collaborations. And when it comes to cooperatives, hindi po tayo bago sa mga collaborations, no? What collaborations can be established between cooperatives? And as you mentioned, we need education and educational systems or institutions to educate yung ating mga students, mga kababaihan about the dangers of human trafficking.
Sa ngayon, sa tingin ko, ang isang effective at mabilis na pamamaraan to educate and have awareness, social media. Kasi hindi naman masyadong kailangan ng maraming pera at marami naman tayong nag-o-online, especially the youth, no? So at tayo sa co-op, meron tayong mga free and paid versions ng ibang platforms. Siguro pwede rin natin mabigyan ng direction at tayo ay magbigay din ng mga let's say free mga webinars, or mas maganda kung meron din face-to-face depending on our area of operation. Marami-rami naman tayo dito sa Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So we could share the load of giving this information dissemination and awareness. Kasi for me, education pa rin yung pinakauna natin dapat na magampanan through social media.
All right, I'm down to my last question, Attorney Blue. And this is on how can we engage yung ating mga men and mga boys in the fight against human trafficking and promote gender equality.
Oo, parang I am close to that question din, but I'm also I'm glad, I have been attending many gender and development webinars, maybe online or face-to-face. Yung pinaka-latest natin doon sa Quezon City, 50-50 tayo sa number pa lang, no? I think for 34 participants, we have 17 male and 17 females. And of course, siguro, meron ding time na yung time sa mga lalaki, magkwento-kwento, usap-usap siguro. Then, kung ayaw nila i-share yung identity nila, maybe we'll say a certain person, male person from this, share something like that. Kasi sometimes, hindi lang natin masyadong aware, no? Pero ang mga lalaki din ay meron din mga pusong mamon, meron din dyan na mga mahiyain, nakala natin very strong sila, hindi dapat magpakita ng emosyon, but maybe little by little, siguro a small group lang muna, then share natin siguro again through social media and maybe some workshops, yung openness na, and maybe a little admission na men being yung physically stronger siguro, arguably, na pwede tayong maging part of the prevention, maybe through the social norms, or yung paano bang hindi masyadong magagalit kapag lasing, or magagalit kapag natalo yung ating basketball team. Kasi minsan yung mga lalaki, yung mga very trivial matters, yung na-overtaken ng kotse, nagagalit na kaagad. So maybe whether we could overcome it or minimize it, or maybe stifle it a bit, na para hindi na tayo yung tinatawag natin na displacement, yung sinusuntok yung wall, sinisipa yung mga dogs, or worst, sinasaktan yung ating mga female partners and other partners. So if we men can also share, maybe understand more and magtimpi siguro, and let out our emotions in private or in public, then that would be a good start, hindi naman tayo dito nagko-contest ng men and women. Yan ating tinuturo sa ating gender sensitivity trainings, but we could be partners and we could be magkasabay tayo sa ating mga problema, sa ating triumphs and our challenges in the coming years. Yeah.
So there, thank you very much, Attorney Blue, for your time, and we wish na sana makakinig pa po kami ng marami about this, no po. But if you have questions para po sa ating mga nakikinig ngayon, if you have questions, again, you may type them in the chat box. We will reply to them and include them in our live broadcast or live podcast na in the next few days. So ayan po. With that, Attorney Blue, would you like to close our session for today?
Yes, we will not end our 18-day campaign to end violence against women on December 12. No? Maybe we could start late, but please don't let this end on December 12. We have to have it parang breathing na rin, as natural as breathing, yung ating respeto, yung ating concern, at yung ating proactiveness, no, to end violence against women, because it would help contribute also to our economic and also our other sustainable development goals, no, yung to end poverty, justice, and yung to improve the lives of our members sa ating co-ops. So hopefully maging more involved tayo dito sa ating gender sensitivity and gender and development.
Right. With that, we say thank you and have a great day.